Welcome to our classroom. Today we have a special guest, Niurka Ozuna from the Bronx, New York. Shout out to the BX. Niurka is extremely proud of her Dominican heritage, and you already know, de lo mío. And as a Latinx author who's passionate about sharing her culture through literature, she enthusiastically finds imaginative ways to initiate conversations that educate, build awareness, and build literacy. We're going to be talking about her first book, What's Wrong with Grandma? ¿Qué le pasa, abuela? And that serves as a conversation starter on the topic of mental health, specifically schizophrenia. This book aims to help families and communities navigate the complex and often difficult discussion around mental health, an issue that remains deeply stigmatized. And I'm extremely interested in engaging in this topic as I'm looking around at my elders and other individuals I'm connected to through church community and neighborhood community who are experiencing different types of health issues related to this. So I'm eager to learn more, explore more, and certainly expand my awareness. So thank you for being here, Niurka.
You're welcome. I'm very happy to be here, and I thank you for having me.
My pleasure, my pleasure. Well, why don't we start with just getting into this, what can be a sensitive topic for many, right? As they're witnessing family members or loved ones change in behavior and sometimes do some strange things.
Yeah.
What inspired you to write a children's book about mental health and specifically focusing on abuela, on grandmother's experiences?
So it was based on my personal experience of growing up with my mother who has schizophrenia.
Mm.
So the overall inspiration of what's wrong with grandma, ¿Qué le pasa a abuelita, came from the desire to help children and families navigate the often stigmatized, like you said, topic of mental health, especially in the context of family relationships. Mental health challenges like schizophrenia can be difficult for anyone to understand. And at an early age, I realized that not much was out there, not a lot of material was available that spoke directly to children about how these conditions can affect someone they love, particularly a grandparent who is often seen as a source of wisdom and stability. So I wanted to write a story that made it easier for children to process the challenges or process the changes they might notice in loved ones while maintaining a sense of love and connection. So focusing on a grandmother's experiences felt natural because, like I mentioned, grandparents are often, they play a very special role in a child's life. When the relationship changes due to a mental health condition, it can be confusing and very scary for a child, but it's also an opportunity for growth and understanding. So, my goal was to provide a tool for families to address these changes, to break down the stigma around mental health, and to show that even when someone is struggling, the love between family members remains strong. So, writing the book from a child's perspective allows young readers to feel seen and heard while also maintaining or helping parents and guardians approach these conversations with care and compassion.
Yeah, I'm wondering why you think there's this stigmatization and how are folks responding to your book, given that this topic is a stigmatized topic?
So I think the stigma is, well, culturally, the stigma is related to de eso no se habla, like,
Mm.
hey, you don't talk about someone who might be going through something, especially if it's related to a mental health condition. And growing up, that's what it was. But in having to go on unit, to see my mother when she was admitted and during these moments that were very hard, um, oh, mira, llévale esta chancleta a tu mamá. It was just like, but why am I doing this? And why did this happen? And what are really the reasons surrounding this? I think it's part of the reason it's still a stigmatized topic is because of fear. It's the fear of understanding or admitting that someone might be going through a mental health condition that is as serious as schizophrenia, admitting that someone might need to be medicated in order to reach a baseline that is it's far from their decompensation state, because when someone fully decompensates, they're at their peak. They're at that level where everything is not right, and it can
Mm,
happen in adults and, as you mentioned, in seniors. Because now one thing that has come up due to my book is schizophrenia. That's it's onset schizophrenia in seniors, so it's something that they didn't have in early ages, I would say, like in their 40s, but then as they get older, it's something that develops. So I actually connected with a lawyer who does he does work with lots of seniors, and he purchased several copies of the book because he's like, oh my gosh, I have so many clients that are dealing with this, and this is a wonderful way to bridge that gap that exists in understanding why this is happening.
mm. Yeah, that's great. And I'm also wondering, right, because you got a particular audience you identified there in terms of individuals who are working with adults supporting those seniors who are going through this experience. How about our young readers? How did you approach complex mental health issues in a way that young readers can understand and empathize with?
So when explaining complex issue like mental health issues or something like schizophrenia to a young reader, I aim to break it down in the concept that's relatable and tangible to experience that children can connect to emotionally. So rather than using like clinical terms or overwhelming details, I focused on feelings and behaviors that a child might notice or experience in everyday life, like
Mm,
confusion or fear. Empathy, which is the ability to understand and share feelings of others, was also the central part of my storytelling. By centering the narrative on the character, the children can relate to this, in this case, grandma, and it creates an opening for readers to care and ask questions. They care about this character. So, this approach invites young readers to feel compassion without needing to fully understand the medical intricacies, and rather focus on how the character feels and the importance of kindness, patience, and asking for help when needed.
yeah, and I see that here because the kids at different moments are confused about the behaviors and they're asking, ¿Qué le pasa, abuela? What's wrong with grandma? They're asking, where are they taking grandma? Right? So these questions are surfacing for the kids as they're reacting to what's going on. And then there was a moment in the book where the mother sits down to explain, to break this down, to engage them, to help calm their anxieties around what's happening while giving them some insight as to what Abuela's experiencing, right? This
Right.
situation, this illness, and how it is that they could support Abuela.
Right, right. So, in writing a children's book about schizophrenia, especially from a child's perspective, I found that the key was to approach the subject matter with honesty while remaining sensitive to a child's level of understanding. So, children have an amazing ability to grasp complex emotions, but it's also important to explain things in a way that doesn't overwhelm them, that doesn't make them feel like, oh my gosh, this is too much, right? To maintain this balance, actually, I focused on using simple language that was relatable, scenarios that a child might encounter with their grandparents. Um, the narrator, the narrator expressed confusion in a way that gave room for questions to emerge. So it fostered a learning experience rather than trying to provide all the answers at once. So the innocence of a child's view is also what serves as the bridge, because it introduces the seriousness of mental health while creating a safe space where a child can process this information gradually. So the illustrations and the characters help ground the story in reality, since they're all the scenes are set in like real situations, without losing the compassion and warmth that's necessary for the child to feel secure in exploring this tough topic.
Yeah, and one of the things I noticed on the cover of your book is that there are question marks by the children. So even off rip, just off of the cover, the children are already framed with that curiosity, right?
Right,
And that's
right.
something that we encourage. We want to encourage folks to lead with curiosity.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so based on that curiosity, or actually stemming from that, to accurately depict the symptoms and the experiences of the grandmother in the story, I drew from a combination of personal experiences and research. So, you know, I it was inspired, like I said, primarily based on my real life experience of just dealing with my mom growing up with schizophrenia. And then having witnessed that firsthand and the emotional impact it has on not only yourself but the person who's experiencing it, I wanted to create an authentic portrayal that resonated with both children and adults, because what I noticed is that not only was there a lack of information available to help people understand, um, it was both a lack of information for both children. I was a child growing up with my mother. I didn't understand what was going on. But then as an adult, you're an adult and you still don't understand, and there's nothing available. So I wanted something that can kind of serve as an in between, that can serve as both things for children and adults. So in addition to my personal experiences, I conducted research. Of course, I started looking into schizophrenia, particularly focusing on how it manifests in adults. So I reviewed medical resources and I read personal accounts from caregivers and even people that are living with schizophrenia, to just to make sure that the symptoms such as like hallucinations, delusions, disorganized thinking, paranoia were all represented accurately in a way that young readers could comprehend. However, these are all also things that I saw my mom display. So it's just
Mm,
like, wow, you're seeing this person doing these things. And you're just like, wow, this is, yeah, this is just like, it's a lot to deal with. You just want to find a space where you can just gain a better understanding. So I also considered the emotional landscape of families who are navigating these challenges. The portrayal of the grandmother informed by the nuances of the caregiver. So as a caregiver or as a confused child, you want to maintain a bond with this person despite of this illness, because you love this person. So my goal was to handle these symptoms with care, so presenting them truthfully but gently, just to foster understanding and empathy.
yeah, there's a delicate balance there, and I noticed that in a certain section of the book, the abuela grandmother was seeing things, was hearing things, and responding to that. And so,
Yeah.
how did you decide which aspects of this mental health, this illness to focus on, and why were these of particular importance to you?
Okay. So I chose to focus on the phenomena of like seeing things that aren't there or hearing voices, because these are some of the most recognizable,
Mm,
impactful symptoms in schizophrenia, especially for children who might observe these behaviors in loved ones. These symptoms can be particularly confusing and frightening for young readers. So it was important for me to address them directly, but with lots of sensitivity. So, in deciding which aspects of mental health to highlight, I prioritize those that would most naturally arise in a child's experience of someone with schizophrenia. And hallucinations and auditory disturbances, like hearing things, are the key markers of this condition. And they present clear opportunities for a child character to notice that something unusual is happening in their loved one. And by addressing these specific symptoms, I aim to like demystify them and making them less frightening and more understandable to a young audience. So these particular symptoms also serve as an entry point for the conversation around mental health. So by showing how a child in the story reacts to and processes what they are witnessing, it creates a safe space for young readers to ask questions and develop empathy realizing that these behaviors are just a part of the illness rather than something to be afraid of. So they're essentially part of the story because it's clear, it's relatable, and it's a way for children to begin to understand schizophrenia while empathizing the importance of love, patience, and then asking for help when you really need it.
Yeah, so in addition to building awareness and helping them, grounding them in understanding, at least a basic understanding, and helping them build empathy, is there anything else you want your readers to take away, your young readers or any readers?
Right. So I hope that young readers and their parents or guardians, I hope they take away a sense of empathy and understanding and an openness towards mental health. After reading What's Wrong with Grandma, ¿Qué le pasa, abuelita? For young readers, I want them to realize that it's okay to be curious, even confused when someone they love like behaves like wow, ella está media loquita, and even that, the stigma related saying that, that they behave differently due to this illness,
Mm,
like schizophrenia. And it's meant to encourage children to ask questions, to express their feelings, to not be afraid of what they don't know about, I hope that they learn that mental health challenges are a part of life for a lot of people, and showing kindness and patience and love can make a really big difference. And for parents and guardians, I want the book to serve as a conversation starter, helping them talk to their children about the difficult topics like mental health in a way that is gentle and age appropriate, of course. I hope the book opens the door to discussions about the importance of just caring, with compassion, asking for help when they need it, and whether that's for themselves or a loved one, a child, that is trying to understand something new ultimately needs this space to understand, to reduce the stigma, and and just create the space where they can gain that understanding, and that the understanding that physical health, like everyone always talks about going to the gym, but physical health is just as important as mental health.
absolutely, absolutely. We want to look at health in a holistic manner, right? Physical, spiritual, emotional, mental. And we should definitely lean into the mental health conversation instead of leaning back like Fat Joe. You see what I did there, right? BX. What, what type of feedback you received from families or children or others that have read your book? How's it impacted them? Particular, have you heard from those that are dealing with similar situations? I know you referenced earlier a client of yours who bought n numerous books because
Yeah.
of the individuals that are coming to him and how it's supporting him. But I'm wondering how others are receiving it.
Yeah, so yeah, I mentioned the earlier example of a trust lawyer. He does trust for families and a lot of the seniors that he would interact with. Well, the families, they were dealing with seniors with onset schizophrenia, which honestly was a manifestation that I was like, wow, this is new. Let me do some research about that. But beyond that, I've received some very touching feedback from families and children who have read What's Wrong with Grandma. A lot of parents have expressed gratitude for the way the book opened up a meaningful conversation with their children about mental health, something they had struggled to explain on their own. So
Mm,
they appreciated the story, provided a gentle but honest way to introduce the difficult topic of schizophrenia, and it allowed their kids to ask questions and explore their feelings in a safe space. Some families dealing with similar situations, particularly with a loved one who is experiencing schizophrenia or other health conditions, have shared with me that the book resonated with them deeply on a personal level. Like I have a teacher um, that I still communicate with. He's my sixth grade social studies teacher, and we're still friends. He's like 81 years old now, which is great to have someone from your past that's still so influential in your present. It turns out his son is schizophrenic, and I didn't know that. And when he read the book, he said, wow, Niurka, oh my gosh, this has been so impactful because sometimes you just want to run away and just like put them in an institution and not deal with them
Mm,
anymore because it's
wow.
so difficult. And he said, this book made me cry because it just, it leans into the importance of just showing love and compassion, and no matter how difficult the situation, through understanding, we can really learn how to offer the care that these people need. So yeah, and then in other instances, there's some families, they said that they were even inspired to seek out additional support. So they sought out information, counseling. It opened up the discussion about mental health with even members of their community, which de eso no se habla, that whole nuance of, hey, you can't talk about that is beginning to be lifted. So the impact has been both emotional and practical because I've read it to little ones as young as 3 to 5, and they're like, "Oh, is grandma going to be okay?" And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, it gives me goosies that they're so young, but they understand and they're getting the message that I intended to put out there."
Mm, that's great. That's great. And sometimes children understand more rapidly than adults do, right? Sometimes they have more empathy and more compassion than we show. And
Yes.
so our children can be an example in that sense, which is why we want to continue to create tools such as What's Wrong with Grandma, ¿Qué le pasa, abuelita? And equip our children and equip others to engage in this conversation and to stay curious, to stay curious. And I'm curious about the message of encouragement that you want to offer to the audience.
So, the message of encouragement that I would like to offer is that What's Wrong with Grandma, ¿Qué le pasa, abuelita? Is more than just a story. It's a bridge to conversations about mental health that can be difficult, but are so, so important. My hope is that this book creates a sense of comfort and understanding for both children and adults as they navigate the complex emotions surrounding a loved one's mental health struggles. By offering a child's perspective, the story encourages empathy, patience, and the reassurance that it's okay to ask for help no matter how big or small the issue seems, because sometimes they're like, get over it, you're being too
Mm,
much or whatever. It's just like, it's okay to ask for help. Ultimately, my hope for this book is that not only it helps families dealing with similar situations, but it fosters a greater openness and reduces the overall stigma around mental health in all households. So, through love and understanding, we can better support one another, even in the face of the most difficult challenges.
mm. Well said, well said. Well, I always like to toss this question up here to my guests. If you had the opportunity to have lunch with anybody that are alive, who would it be and why?
It would be Maya
Oh,
Angelou.
that's a good pick. That's a good pick.
Yes.
I know
Snap,
why the
snap,
cage bird
snap, snap,
sings.
snap. Yes, she is an American poet, writer. She wrote like 7
A
autobiographies,
gem, a
books,
true
essays.
gem.
And I like posting positive notes on my Instagram. And one note that I recently posted is, I'll read it to you. Okay, so if you have only one smile in you to give it to the people you love.
Oh, that's
And
oof.
I was like, ooh, I love that. But I'm gonna smile. I'm gonna give it to even the people I don't love. Not.
Let's go. That's right.
It's like, let's give these smiles. Smiles are free. Let's give them away.
That's right. That's right. And it can help to get people to put down their defenses.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Maya Angelou is was amazing, 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 an American treasure. And I was fortunate enough when I was in boarding school for a year, freshman year in Newport, Rhode Island, to be able to listen to her speak in person.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, amazing,
amazing.
amazing, amazing.
Yeah,
And
I can't believe it's already been 10 years since she passed away.
time
Yeah,
flies, time
yeah,
flies.
yeah.
But her work, her literature, her impact lasts forever.
Right, right. And see, I never like writing books was always an idea, but I never thought it would happen for me. So, because you grow up and you're like, it's too hard. It's not, so now that it has, it's just like if I can inspire others to pursue their dream of writing or publishing, yeah, I hope I can do that too.
That's
Just like
you.
she's inspired multitude people, I hope to follow along her footsteps doing the same.
Yeah, I mean, you already have. You wrote the book. It's out. You've inspired others. It's in the hands of the people. No, seriously, because I used to think the same way, and then I'm just like, oh wow. I started to realize that as people were reading my book, it was sparking them because they didn't necessarily see themselves as an author or they didn't think they could do it, and they're like, oh, hold up, Roberto just published a book. Like, whoa, but if he could do it, I could do it. And even if they don't have that mindset, I try to instill that mindset in them. I'm like, yo, I publish a book. Trust me, if I could do it, you can do it.
You can do it. Yeah.
This is not impossible, but it does take discipline.
Yes,
And
yes.
so kudos to you for publishing your
Kudos to
book.
you.
Thank you. Thank you. I receive it. But I'm glad that you published this book about this particular topic because it's definitely not a topic that I had come across before, and especially not in this genre, right? Not as a children's book, and it's a friendly read. It's something I can sit down with my three kids who are 9, 6, and 3 and engage them in the conversation. And so it's a tool for me and my family. It's a tool for others. It's part of the toolkit. And I appreciate receiving things that I can add to my toolkit that are not necessarily like everything else.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yes, my hope is that I'm collaborating with NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, and they're a nationwide organization, nonprofit that focuses on just pushing this mental health message. And yeah, if it can get picked up by them, yeah, that'll be fantastic. So we're on our way, baby steps, but we're getting there.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, we're here to support you here at Multicultural Classroom, and certainly you're welcome on the platform to continue pushing this message. Continue to write, continue to inspire others, continue to share stories that are not being talked about, that are not being addressed. Um, thank you, thank you, thank you for the work that you're doing. I appreciate the conversation. Again, even from reading the book, I learned some and it helped me to empathize. It helped me to think about even one of my tias who passed away. I think at this point it's probably been 2 years, 2.5 years,
Okay.
and she was dealing with this also. I don't remember if it was schizophrenia or dementia, but it
Okay.
was one of those. And I had a Theo who had, I believe, dementia, and another Thea with Alzheimer's. And so this stuff is
Yeah,
real.
and
This stuff is
yeah,
real.
it's
We're in
real and
proximity
it's
to it.
and it's it's similar. Like the symptoms kind of like they're very similar. So they're yeah, so they can be confused,
Hmm.
but it's just difficult all around. So having something that can help, yeah, is super important.
Yeah, and then I feel this, pushes me to keep this at the forefront of my mind, right? And as I keep it at the forefront of my mind, that I try to put myself in the shoes of those who are going through this experience, and really get to a deeper place of empathy and compassion. And that
Right.
compassion should move me to action.
Right. Absolutely. Well
So
said.
thank you. Be blessed. That's it from our classroom. Peace, y'all.
Oh, all righty. Take care. Bye-bye.
So for those that want to follow you and they want to learn more, they either want to get the book or they want to hear from you directly. Where can they follow you? Do you offer writing workshops, reading workshops, any type of workshop? Give us some information so that people can connect.
Well, my both of my books are available on Amazon. So if you type in my name or the titles of the books, What's Wrong with Grandma? ¿Qué le pasa a Abuelita? Or my latest book is The Super, El Super. They're both on Amazon. However, you can follow me on Instagram at Niurka Ozuna. So that's NIURKAOZUNA, or at my company Instagram, which is Nuo Group, NIUOGROUP. Or if you want to just talk to me, feel free to call me. My business line is 914-415-2290. And yeah, that's it.
There you have it, folks. You got no excuses to not get in contact with Niurka. All right. She's out there doing it. Seek build, network, support the movement, and support this conversation and add to your toolbox. Grace and peace.
Thank you. Blessings.